Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're really digging into, well, a pretty tough and emotional marital dispute, looking at all the intricate layers as seen through one person's perspective through the documents they provided.
That's right. We've got quite a stack of sources here. Affidavits, legal petitions, even personal letters, and a detailed timeline, all offering this, well, singular viewpoint on a contested marriage.
Yeah.
So our job today, really, is to unpack the key facts and insights from this specific material, help you understand the core arguments, and honestly, the dramatic clash of narratives that's going on within it.
We'll be looking at how one individual, Stephen J. O'Malley, who also goes by Hamza, presents what he calls his documented fact book of his marriage. And this is rooted in Islamic law, and how that directly confronts what he sees as a, quote, public display and narrative enforcement by others. He views this as a major distortion of truth.
Absolutely. It's quite the intersection.
Yeah, get ready to explore this crossing point of personal belief, public action, and different legal frameworks, all through the lens of one person's fight for what he perceives as, well, divine truth. So let's start at the beginning, lay the foundation. Hamza provides these sources, lays out what he calls his documented fact book. What's the core of that presentation?
Well, okay, his timeline starts things off. It details the start of his Islamic marriage, the nikah, that's the formal contract.
Right.
That happened December 26, 2022. It was done over the phone, witnessed by family and masjid leadership.
Okay.
Then cohabitation started February 17th, 2023, and they had a public marriage celebration, the masjid, June 26, 2023.
So it sounds pretty clear, publicly acknowledged start to things.
Seems that way from these docs, yeah.
But then, March 6, 2024, things seem to take a sharp turn. He describes an angered pronouncement of divorce, talaq.
Yeah,
This really sounds like the first big point where things diverge.
it absolutely is, yeah. From his perspective, the one laid out in these sources,
Based on what we have here.
he insists this pronouncement was not binding in Islamic law. He argues there were, no formal divorce documents, no proper witnesses, no arbitration.
Okay.
And crucially, he says there was a retraction of the pronouncement pretty quickly, like within the same day or shortly after.
And he backs this up with Islamic legal points?
He does. He cites specific opinions regarding, talaq pronounced in anger,
Yeah.
saying it might not be valid under certain conditions.
So he's standing firm that the marriage is, in his view, still intact. What's his main evidence for that stance in these papers?
Well, his affidavit of marital status is key here. He calls it a sworn factual account.
Mm-hmm.
And it testifies that, from his perspective, his marriage to Allah Hamid is still valid in the sight of Allah because he argues no proper Islamic dissolution process happened.
So that's his central claim.
Exactly. He explicitly states no valid talaq occurred. And he argues that his wife's unilateral declaration of Ida, that's the waiting period after a divorce.
Right.
He says that's not Islamically binding without proper talaq. His view is you remain married in the sight of Allah unless a proper Sharia process is completed.
Okay.
The sources also mention him addressing the Masjid community publicly, June 14, 2024, stating hope for reconciliation, confirming no official Islamic divorce had happened.
Even after communication was cut off.
Yeah, even after a permanent communication cutoff reported on July 4th, 2024, he says he kept seeking reconciliation.
So for you listening, what are the specific Islamic legal ideas he's drawing on here to say that divorce pronouncement wasn't valid?
Well, according to these sources, he points to principles in Islamic jurisprudence suggesting that a talaq given in extreme anger might be invalid, or at least questionable.
Okay.
It has to be, deliberate, calm, properly executed.
Mm.
He also stresses that just cutting off contact or one person acting alone doesn't automatically equal divorce in Islam.
Right.
And this leads him to a really serious point in his documentation. He states that if Allah entered another relationship before what he considers a valid Islamic divorce, it would be considered zina. That's fornication or adultery. And his sources emphasize his repeated attempts at reconciliation after that March 6th date.
Okay, so that's Hamza's side, his fact book, a very clear picture from his viewpoint.
Right.
But these same documents also detail what he calls a direct contradiction from Al-Hamai and Christopher Marcel Burns. He frames it as public display and narrative enforcement. How does that play out in the materials?
Well, it becomes really apparent in Hamza's petition for stalking protective order, filed against Christopher Marcel Burns.
Okay, a legal filing.
Yes. And in it, Hamza explicitly accuses Christopher of, quote, marrying my wife, Ala Hazim Hamid, under fraudulent pretenses. He specifically mentions a fake Palestinian divorce ruling 38572.
Wow. And he includes evidence for that.
He does. He attached what he labels a fraudulent Palestinian divorce certificate, case 38572, directly challenging the basis of their marriage.
So this isn't just about, like, a disagreement over interpretation. He's alleging actual fraud with documents.
That's his claim, yes. And it goes beyond just documents. It's about the public story being told.
Right, the public clash of narratives.
Exactly. Hamza also accuses Christopher of publicly posting defamatory content about me on social media.
Okay.
And he includes, as evidence, social media post videos of Christopher's marriage to Allah. These are clear examples of that public display of a narrative that, from Hamza's view, completely contradicts his reality.
And beyond the social media, you mentioned Allah's own statements are highlighted. What do those tell us?
Yeah, there's a specific statement from Allah to Hamza quoted, "I have multiple witnesses who can confirm the harassment you've caused me, including my daughter and my husband, Chris."
Ah, calling Christopher my husband.
Precisely. Hamza presents this as a key moment of narrative enforcement. By formally naming Christopher as her husband, Allah publicly asserts a status Hamza insists is Islamically invalid.
How does Hamza react to that specific wording?
He calls it ontological falsification, basically saying it's creating a false reality
Right.
and actively rewriting history. He insists her statement, "we are divorced," is not a Quranic fact, but a human forgery.
It really sounds like he sees it as this coordinated effort, a campaign almost, to rewrite the story. What else makes him feel that way?
Well, that's exactly the language he uses.
Yeah.
He points to Allah's repeated demands for him to remove all pictures related to me from social media.
Okay.
He sees these not just as requests, but as tactics. Tactics to enforce her narrative by erasing the public evidence of their shared past.
Even though she cites a law for that request.
Right. She cites Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS 163.472, which we'll get to. But Hamza frames her demand as part of this larger campaign against his version of events.
And how does he respond when someone suggests he should just leave it to Allah, trust in God's plan?
Oh, he pushes back hard against that, according to the sources. He doesn't see it as genuine tawakkul or trust in Allah. No, he calls it a misuse of religion to cover injustice. He uses the term zulm, which means wrongdoing or oppression. He even calls it spiritual gaslighting.
So he believes religion is being used against him, essentially.
That's his interpretation, yeah. That religious concepts are being weaponized to enforce what he sees as a false narrative and to avoid accountability for deviating from Islamic law.
Okay, let's talk about that law Allah mentioned, ORS 163.472. It brings in a specific civil legal angle. For those of us listening, what does this Oregon statute actually cover?
Sure. So ORS 163.472 deals with the unlawful dissemination of an intimate image. Basically, it makes it a crime if someone intentionally harasses, humiliates, or injures another person by knowingly sharing an identifiable intimate image of them.
Okay.
And crucially, they know, or reasonably should know, the person in the image doesn't consent to the sharing. And the act actually causes that harassment, humiliation, or injury. Plus, a reasonable person would see the disclosure as harmful.
And what counts as an intimate image under this law? Is it broad?
It's fairly specific. It means a photo, video, or digital image showing someone's intimate parts, genitals, pubic area, buttocks, or showing them engaged in sexual conduct.
Got it.
The person has to be identifiable. And yeah, the absolute key is the lack of consent for sharing it. If consent was given, the law doesn't apply.
Makes sense. And what are the penalties if someone violates this in Oregon?
Generally, it's treated as a Class A misdemeanor. That's pretty serious.
Right.
But it can be bumped up to a Class C felony if the person has a prior conviction for the same thing. The whole point of the law is to protect people's privacy and dignity, acknowledging that this kind of non-consensual sharing can cause really significant emotional damage.
So connecting this back to the sources, how exactly does Allah use this statute in her communication with Hamza?
Well, her message, as quoted by Hamza, says this: "In accordance with ORS 163.472, I request that all pictures related to me be removed immediately. Some of the images are inappropriate, and I do not consent to their use or distribution, unless you would like to have more court cases."
That's very direct, a legal threat.
Very. And she apparently followed up saying, "The inappropriate photos are still posted and have nothing to do with Islam. In fact, it goes against Islamic values."
So a mix of legal threat and moral argument there. How did Hamza say he responded to this specific demand and threat?
According to his account, he did remove the photo, but he frames his action in a specific way. He calls it choosing adl, which he translates as justice, over nafs, his ego or base desires.
Interesting framing.
Yeah, he says removing it, even feeling wronged, was a victory in the unseen realm. He positioned it as choosing to document, not retaliate, seeing it as preserving his own dignity.
Okay, beyond the he said, she said, the legal points, the documents, there seems to be a deeper conflict here about truth itself, especially from Hamza's viewpoint. What's really at stake for him?
Oh, absolutely. It goes much deeper for him. He draws this sharp contrast between their actions, as he sees them, and what he calls the enduring truth. He asserts, and this is a direct quote again, "You can rewrite texts, twist posts, and cite laws, but you cannot edit the divine log." He emphasizes his belief that his fact book, his version of events, is recorded by God and can't be changed by human actions.
That's a powerful claim.
It is. He says, "To lie in the face of such light is not an insult to me. It is rebellion against truth itself." So for him, this isn't just a personal dispute. It has cosmic significance.
And he talks about a reversal of narrative. What does he mean by that?
Yeah, he feels the story is being flipped on its head. He writes, he's witnessing a reversal of narrative, where Allah is now framing the story as though I am the threat, the violator, the aggressor, while I was the one, he claims, protecting the sanctity of our bond, calling for accountability, offering forgiveness. He finds this distortion not just painful, it's existentially disorienting. You can feel the emotional weight there.
Yeah, definitely. And he sees this reversal as intentional manipulation.
He does. He states clearly that he believes Allah's actions are designed to trigger me emotionally, frame me as obsessive, push me into self-doubt.
How does he counter that in his own mind?
By asserting his own reality, he writes, "I am not crazy, I am not guilty, I am not the liar." He believes that everything, his emails, the threats he says he received, even potential witnesses from the other side, is all just evidence for a higher tribunal, meaning evidence for God.
And these sources also include a very personal letter from him to Allah.
Yes, a deeply personal one.
Yeah.
In it, he repeats his love and sorrow. He states he's sought to uphold the Quranic process and the justice ordained by Allah.
Okay.
He expresses real grief over her choices blocking him, declaring her iddah complete, pursuing a secular divorce so quickly.
Does he address the new relationship in that letter?
He does. He raises what he calls grave concerns about her subsequent relationship and pregnancy. He explicitly questions whether zina, fornication, occurred with a non-Muslim male or whether fornication occurred with a Muslim male outside of valid marriage.
Those are incredibly serious questions within an Islamic context.
Extremely serious, yeah. It really escalates the religious dimension of the dispute.
And given all this, the perceived injustice, the spiritual stakes, he calls for the community leadership to get involved.
Yes, explicitly. He addresses the leadership of Masjid al-Tawakkul directly in his writings.
What does he ask them to do?
He asks for an urgent review of the facts and prayerful guidance for all involved. He wants them to ensure justice, transparency, and adherence to Sharia, Islamic law.
So he's appealing to a religious authority structure.
Correct. He frames it as his duty before Allah to make the truth known. He insists it's not about revenge, but about, well, reconciliation with the deen, the Islamic way of life, achieving justice according to Sharia, and ultimately healing for the community.
It really underscores the profound spiritual weight he attaches to this whole conflict.
Absolutely. It's central to his entire perspective as presented here.
Wow. What an intense, deep dive today, really unpacking this clash of personal truths, religious interpretations, and civil legal actions. Yeah.
We've seen how one person's very firm belief in their documented fact book, rooted in their understanding of Islamic law, stands in such stark contrast to what they perceive as this narrative enforcement by others, leading to these really heavy accusations, fraud, defamation, even spiritual gaslighting, as he calls it.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? When individual stories, individual truths diverge so dramatically, especially when they touch on things that are so deeply personal and religiously significant, how do we, just as observers looking at the material, how do we even grapple with these conflicting claims of fact versus truth?
Right.
What does it mean for evidence, whether it's a legal document or spiritual conviction, when one side believes their truth is literally divinely recorded, unchangeable, while the other side is using civil law, like that Oregon statute, to try and establish their reality? It's incredibly complex, and maybe the biggest question this leaves for you, our listener, to ponder. In these kinds of conflicts where you have personal feelings, religious law, civil law, all tangled up, How does someone even go about upholding what they truly believe is the truth? And maybe more pointedly, what does it really take to win when the very definition of winning is completely up for grabs, completely contested?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Definitely something to mull over until our next deep dive.
How do rumors keep spreading by those who seek to deceive? They twist the facts, seal the acts, while truth they disbelieve. In haste they speak out of anger, without hid proof or sight. But I stand firm with patience, trusting all God's light. Look at all these rumors, they're surrounding me each day. I just need some savor, some faith to stay the right way from all these rumors. The lies they try to portray, a true bond is intact, no matter what they say. Did you hear that one about us? They claim it's all untrue, but there's a record clear and clear in all unspoken view. They speak to smear and rewrite, to break the sacred ties. Yet Allah knows our secrets, and He will hear my cries. Look at all these rumors, they're surrounding me each day. I just need some savor, some faith to stay the rightful way from all these rumors. The lies they try to portray, my true bond is intact, no matter what they say. I see justice and truth, rejecting all false claim, with trust in God's decree. I do not play their game. Corruption tries to silence, but light will surely win. I call for peace, for honor, and dignity within. Look at all these rumors, they're surrounding me each day. I just need some savor, some faith to stay the right way from all these rumors. The lies they try to portray, a true bond is intact, no matter what they say. What's written by Allah's hand can't be changed by man's deceit. I hold on to my faith, though the trials repeat. What's mine is mine, no rumor can erase. I'll stand with patience, strong, till truth takes its place. When these rumors that surrounding me each day, I just need some savor, some faith to stay the right way from all these rumors. The lies they try to portray, my true bond is intact, no matter what they say. Stop spreading those rumors around. Stop spreading the lies. Stop spreading those rumors around. Stop spreading the lies. Stop spreading those rumors around. Stop